Have you ever seen someone stoop so low they stole medical gear from a sick child? Now imagine that person running your neighborhood HOA. Yeah. This is the story of how my daughter's life-saving equipment was stolen by HOA Karen, and how that act of heartless cruelty landed her in jail for grand larceny. It all started on a quiet Sunday morning. Birds were chirping. My daughter Mia had just returned from another long stay at the hospital. Mia is 9 years old. She has a rare neuromuscular disorder, and the only thing keeping her breathing at night is a special portable ventilator system. We had just brought it home again after another terrifying episode. That machine meant everything to us, and we kept it right near the entry for easy emergency access. What we didn't know was that Karen, our new HOA president, had decided to wage war against what she called clutter and violations. Even though that clutter was life support. Karen had only been in charge of the HOA for 2 months, but she acted like she owned the place. She'd already fined a family for having a non-regulation mailbox, and sent threatening letters to someone over their rose bushes being too dense. Everyone whispered about her, but no one dared stand up to her. I didn't think she'd come after us, until I saw her pacing around our yard with a clipboard and camera. She was photographing Mia's ventilator case. I walked out calmly and said, "Excuse me, Karen, that's my daughter's medical equipment." She didn't flinch. She just raised her sunglasses and said, "It looks like junk to me. It violates Section 7B of the HOA Visual Compliance Clause." I was stunned. This equipment literally helps my daughter breathe. You can't classify it as clutter. But she was already walking away, muttering something about community standards. I tried to stay calm. I sent an official email explaining the situation. I even attached Mia's medical records and a doctor's note explaining the need for the equipment. I thought surely Karen would back off. But instead, she doubled down. 3 days later we got a notice on the door. Final warning. Unauthorized items in public view will be removed. My blood boiled. This wasn't a lawn chair or a broken swing set. This was medical life support. I posted about it on our neighborhood forum. Most people were supportive. But Karen replied instantly, quoting HOA bylaws and accusing me of emotional manipulation. The next morning, the ventilator was gone. Vanished. No note. No warning. Just gone. Panic set in immediately. We turned the house upside down, thinking maybe someone had moved it. But deep down, I knew she had taken it. I called her. No answer. I messaged her. No reply. Finally, I went to her house. She opened the door with the fakest smile I'd ever seen. Oh, that eyesore. I had it removed for community safety. You'll thank me later. Removed. Like it was trash. I shouted. That was life support for a child. You stole it. She didn't even blink. You should be grateful I didn't issue a fine. Now please leave my property. And she slammed the door in my face. I was shaking. I called the police immediately. I didn't care what Karen thought. This wasn't a neighborly dispute anymore. This was theft. Grand larceny. The officer took my statement seriously, especially when I explained what had been taken. He asked for any proof. Luckily, I had photos of the equipment in place, and Karen's threatening messages from the forum. They counted as evidence. An officer was dispatched to her house within the hour. Karen tried to play innocent, claiming she had no idea what we were talking about. But when they asked to search her garage, she suddenly got very nervous. Too nervous. They found it, stuffed behind a pile of plastic bins in her garage, covered with a tarp. Karen claimed she meant to return it, that it was temporarily relocated for safety reasons. But the police weren't buying it. They photographed everything, noted the serial number on the machine, and confirmed it matched the one from Mia's hospital records. The officer turned to me and said, "This is serious. We're treating this as grand larceny due to the value and nature of the item." Karen turned white. "You can't do this. I'm on the HOA board." But that didn't matter. They arrested her on the spot, right there in her front yard, in full view of the neighborhood. Word spread like wildfire. The HOA group chat exploded. Screenshots of Karen being handcuffed made their rounds within minutes. Neighbors who had once feared her now openly cheered. One even wrote, "I guess she's finally getting a taste of her own medicine." But I wasn't celebrating yet. We rushed Mia to the hospital for evaluation. Without her ventilator for just one night, she'd struggled to breathe. The doctors said we got lucky. Another few hours and it could have been fatal. That hit me like a freight train. All because one power-hungry woman thought she was above compassion. Karen tried to fight the charges. She hired a lawyer and claimed she acted within HOA rights. Her defense: that the ventilator was technically stored in view of the community, and she was enforcing standards. But the court didn't see it that way. Especially after hearing Mia's condition and the medical documentation we brought in. Even her own lawyer looked uncomfortable when reading her forum replies aloud. Her arrogance was on full display, and it did her no favors. The judge was crystal clear. This was not only theft. It was a heartless and reckless endangerment of a child's life. And it will not be tolerated. Karen was convicted of grand larceny. She was sentenced to 6 months in county jail and fined heavily. The HOA immediately called for a vote to remove her from the board, and unanimously replaced her within a week. But what happened left a deep scar on our family. Mia's doing better now. We've installed security cameras and moved her medical setup indoors. The hospital even donated a backup unit, just in case. But the trust we had in our community, that's harder to repair. We used to feel safe here. Now we second-guess every interaction. Still, the support we got from neighbors after the incident was overwhelming. They brought food, donated to help with legal costs, and even painted a mural with Mia's name on the local park bench. If there's one thing this whole nightmare taught me, it's that silence helps no one. People like Karen count on others being too afraid to speak up. And for too long, she got away with bullying, with intimidation. But not anymore. She messed with the wrong family, and her arrogance finally caught up with her. Mia may be small, but her courage is bigger than any HOA president with a clipboard. There were calls for the HOA board to reevaluate all their policies, to include medical exemptions, to have mental health training, to make sure something like this never happens again. And surprisingly, they listened. A new clause was added protecting visible medical equipment from any penalties. And Karen's incident was listed as a case study, a warning to future board members about power abuse. The new HOA president even came by with a handmade card, signed by most of the neighborhood, apologizing for what we'd endured. I won't lie, it made me tear up. Because while Karen acted alone, the community eventually showed up for us. They helped fix what she tried to destroy. Months later, Mia returned to school with confidence. She gave a little presentation about her condition to her classmates, explained what her ventilator does, and why it's not scary, just a part of who she is. And every single kid clapped, including the teacher. It was beautiful. Karen got out of jail after her sentence, but she had to leave the neighborhood. Her reputation was completely wrecked. She tried to appeal her conviction, but the court shut it down fast. Too much evidence. Too many people she had wronged. People still talk about the day she was arrested. It's become sort of legend around here. The day the clipboard crashed, someone joked. But to me, it's a reminder of how dangerous unchecked authority can be, especially when it's mixed with arrogance. Now, when someone new moves in, they hear the story within weeks. And it always ends with the same message. This place protects its people, especially the ones who need it most. It's a strange badge of honor that our neighborhood went through fire and came out stronger. So to anyone watching this, if you're dealing with a Karen in power, in your community, in your life, don't be afraid to document everything. Speak up. Find allies. Because justice is real. And sometimes it shows up with handcuffs and flashing lights. This isn't just our story. This is a reminder of how fragile life can be. How one act of cruelty can ripple into chaos. But also how resilience, kindness, and a little bit of righteous fury can bring balance back. Mia's story is one of hope, of bravery, and of standing up to injustice, even when it's disguised as HOA paperwork. Because at the end of the day, people matter more than bylaws. So next time you hear about a Karen trying to enforce rules at the cost of humanity, Remember Mia. Remember the ventilator. Remember the arrest. And remember that community means looking out for one another. We don't need perfect lawns or color-coordinated trash bins. We need compassion, understanding, and courage to speak when something's wrong. If you've ever had a Karen moment in your neighborhood, tell us in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story, so more people understand that kindness isn't optional. It's essential. And when someone forgets that, well, they might just end up in jail.